Is that up?
Yep, we got it.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Great. Well, again, my name is Michi McClaine. I am the VP of Talent Development here at Regional Opportunity Initiatives, also known as ROI, here in the Uplands region. And just wanted to start by giving kind of some background just in terms of why we exist and what our mission is, if that's helpful. So back in 2014, even prior to that, there was a group of thought leaders, community leaders, stakeholders that were charged with really investigating this part of the state, Southwest Central Indiana, which was not the Indiana Uplands at the time, but the Lilly Endowment had been really investing and was interested in this idea of regionalism and specific communities and counties coming together to leverage resources and expertise to think about how to achieve regional and prosperity in terms of that economic and talent development piece. So from that real in-depth study, a lot of listening sessions, a commission study through Battelle, it resulted in a strategic plan, and there are these parts to that plan, and ROI, which resulted in 3 organizations being part of this mission. So ROI really in those top 4 lines with the strategies, right, to advance regionalism, focus on key industry sectors that would indeed provide the greatest opportunity for acceleration and economic growth in the region. Also a focus on implementing ed workforce strategies and place. So we really, really embrace the idea that talent and place go together hand in hand in order for a community or a county or a region to thrive. You really need those pieces working together. And then, of course, IN3, which is now ARI, you may have heard of some recent work that they're doing around NSWC Crane, but really linking research and what's happening around our defense sector, which is significant at this time, of course, around microelectronics and semiconductors and hypersonics. And then the IU Center for Rural Engagement, CRE, is a great partner in terms of the work that they're doing, some deep dive work in rural counties in our part of the state. So thinking of just kind of our piece, we were kind of started as an organization, a sister organization of the Bloomington Community Foundation here in Monroe County. The Community Foundation, our CEO and president, Tina Peterson, was a significant part of that study and group really thinking about this idea of regionalism for this part of the state. And she was already CEO of the Community Foundation here in Bloomington. So rather than starting everything new, we are an arm of the Community Foundation, where Tina Peterson is CEO of both organizations. So we have our mission is to advance economic and community prosperity in the Indiana Uplands, and we are doing that by strengthening those key industry sectors. We have 3. I'll talk about those in a minute. Developing talent in STEM. I'll let you know why STEM in a few slides, and then enhancing those placemaking assets. So really a lot of quality of place around housing and broadband and community development and redevelopment. So this is our region. We are 11 counties in Southwest Central Indiana. We are actually 48 cities and towns, 4,500 square miles. So we span quite the distance in our initiatives and the work that we're doing around collaboration and partnering with each of these counties. One of the first things that we did, other than what I'll describe as an assessment, is we first it became clear, right, that we as a region did not have an identity. There wasn't a brand. There wasn't a way to really market ourselves and this part of the state, even this part of the country. So we we contracted with Dartlet to help us with identity and branding and marketing. So that is how we went from being Southwest Central Indiana. You know, initially they said, do you know that in your title you have 3 directions? That might be confusing to people. And so when they asked people all over the country, and even in the state, they really didn't know much about this, what was happening in this part of the state. What were the industries? What were the key assets? They just didn't have an answer for it. They could talk about agriculture, maybe they could talk about the Midwest or what they know, or is it Indiana? Is it Ohio? Or is it Idaho? You know, they just didn't have a clear sense of who we were. So with that work and even more listening sessions around identity and personality, they really helped us frame the Uplands personality. And so from that kind of deep dive of who we are, it became clear that there are 3 distinct aspects and assets to this part of the state. You know, those that are part of the Uplands, they're contenders, they're resourceful, industrious, resilient, you know, that making and figuring it out and problem solving, innovators, you know, really thinking about what could be next for to be transformative and really leading edge. And then, of course, neighborly. So we're collaborative, friendly, and charitable. That is a lot of, you know, what you already know about small and rural and people working together. Collaboration is in our DNA. And that really drives a lot of, you know, what we do in terms of looking for that regional prosperity. Really, really proud of that piece. And, you know, this work, it was clear that each county, each community really needed to preserve their own identity, yet be able to be also proud of this part of the state, this region, in terms of those 3 key assets and of these kind of personality traits for branding. So here's a little closer look at those 11 counties, and we have a lot of natural assets, and as well as what I'll get into more are our 3 key industry sectors that we focus on as an organization. There are many sectors that are healthy and doing well. There are these particular 3 at the bottom that you see, advanced manufacturing, life sciences, and national security and defense, are those 3 that we're showing with market analysis and trends and history that would be the 3 key sectors that can accelerate and advance this part of the state particularly. Just some of the facts about why Uplands. So that is based on the topography of this part of the state. And actually, I think the first known reference to the Uplands being in this part of the state was from National Geographic, where it described the topography and the land between rivers and hills. And so we really have embraced that. You can see in the symbol, we really are, you know, also embracing all the time the word up in terms of advancement and moving up and in increasing and making progress. So you might be able to see in our logo the arrow up. It's kind of like seeing the arrow in the FedEx logo, but sometimes you know, we just are very intentional in terms of trying to really brand and create this identity for this part of the state. And so with that, with all of the natural assets that we have and the industry and the key industry sectors that we have, and of course this red line through the map is the I-69 corridor. So that's new. That was all new to us when our work began. And so we are always thinking about not only the natural connections that makes throughout our region, but also activating the corridor for that economic development piece. So these are our three key sectors. And in addition to identity and branding and having a personality, we committed first to understanding these three key sectors and what they offer and what they need. And so one of our first tasks was to conduct an occupational needs assessment. And so we did that in 2017, and then we have had a few subsequent updates to that occupational needs assessment. But our commitment to our key employer sectors is that we will keep our ear very close to their needs, and so that we can be demand driven at all times, and so that our strategies, our resulting strategies can always tie back to what our employers, our key sectors are saying are those needs. This shows just an aspect of the occupational needs assessment, just to get an understanding of where those concentrations are in our region. So you can see advanced manufacturing is really everywhere throughout our region. We are, right, such a manufacturing state, and that is absolutely true for the Uplands region. We have a concentration in Du Bois County for furniture making. Of course, really the location quotient there is 17 times higher than any other average sized city or community in the US, if you were to compare. And so that is quite significant. We also have automotive and food processing and advanced manufacturing. The concentration for defense really hits all of the region as well in terms of the commuting patterns for Crane Naval Base, the third largest naval installation in the world, right here in rural Indiana. And people are coming from all of our 11 counties to work, to have some kind of work, right, at Crane or for their defense contractors. And then life sciences, for us, that is medical device manufacturing. So if you think of Cook Medical, Catalent, Boston Scientific, Baxter, now Simtra as well, that concentration is more in the northern part of our region, but we certainly have commuters in and out to impact life sciences everywhere as well. So what that occupational needs assessment really told us was this overall need for STEM. And so what are the areas that are lacking and have a great need? So that is those areas of technology related to programming, software development, CAD, computer-aided design, chemists, physicists, microbiologists, biologists, all of those things around science. And of course, engineering. We need all types of engineers. We need engineers that are at a technician level, so with a certificate level, all the way to the PhD level. And then, of course, in production, everything around production was at that time the most significant need. Since COVID, then a trend has been even more so are those advanced degrees that are needed, from bachelor's to master's to PhD, because there is quite a bit of automation, of course, happening, whereas it might not be a replacement for that type of work, but a different kind of skill that's needed. So we need the technicians, the designers that can be working around all of that automation and robotics. And so with branding and with an occupational needs assessment to ground us in terms of really giving us a direction and what those needs are, we developed strategies to meet those needs. So if you look there on the far right, our mission is that regional economic and community prosperity that I mentioned earlier, and we measure that in three main ways, and that's educational attainment, everything from the certificate to the 2-year associate to the bachelor's and beyond. Also population growth and per capita income. Those are our main measures of success. And then, of course, how do we get there? So that's the long list on the left. I don't expect you to be able to see all of those. I'm sure it's very small from where you are. And I'll go into more of these on the talent side. but also wanted you to just to see big picture, the types of strategies we have around these kind of two parts of our organization, talent and place. So with quality of place, I won't go into detail about each of those. There's a lot of information you might have already seen on our website around housing and quality of place planning for each county. And of course, building capacity for community redevelopment, grant writing, things of that nature, truly trying to build capacity for that leadership in each county as they pursue grants, as they think about collaboratively how to redevelop or enhance their communities. So we have a number of talent programming. I am not going to go into all of them, but quite a few of them. And I want to be cognizant of time. So Leslie, is this until 10:30 or later?
We probably have till about 10:50.
Okay, all right. Well, hopefully it won't take me that long, but do want to go over some of those initiatives, talent initiatives, just to give you a little kind of deeper dive into those. So Ready Schools is really our flagship initiative. It's where we began in terms of offering a planning and implementation grant for any of the schools districts in our region. We have actually 27 school districts. We never anticipated that we would have Ready Schools for all of them, but those that were really ready and willing to take this on. So Ready Schools is a design thinking approach for school districts to collaborate with their communities in terms of thinking about K-12 or pre-K through 12 alignment from education to workforce, and really understanding what those needs are and what programming and what strategies will help their students be absolutely workforce ready when they graduate and have a clear plan for their next steps after high school. It's not only high school. We talk about making clear connections, such as career awareness. What's happening to explore in the elementary, engage even more in the middle school, and then experience at the high school level, whether that be a job shadow and internship or a modern youth apprenticeship, which is another program we have. So we now have implemented Ready Schools in 18 school districts of our 27. And we started with the green districts there back in 2017. And what has happened because of that is really, and most of our initiatives really forms this network, this kind of security blanket of sharing ideas and troubleshooting together versus us being the expert. What the design thinking process does, I'll go back to this process, is you can see along the way how we're engaging the school districts and the communities. So first in discovery phase, which is a few months long, we really focus on them just listening to their stakeholders. What are your parents saying? What are your recent grads saying? Your students, your employers, your community leaders? What are their hopes and wishes? What are their frustrations and their satisfactions? And then from that, it leads to, let's synthesize everything we heard. Let's find themes. What has emerged? What are patterns that we're hearing across stakeholder groups? And then we're going to go out and we're going to visit promising practices. We're going to explore exemplary models that fit what we're hearing. And then we're going to draft a plan from what we see, always coming back to what we hear those needs are, and we're going to refine a plan. And so at that point, they apply for funding from us to implement that plan. And along the way, we are with them along the way. So we have an ed workforce team. We have an education specialist. We have a career connection specialist. We have an industry sector specialist, and all of them play a role in each of our initiatives, but we coach our identified school districts through this process so that in the end, they really can see that alignment is clear, and that there are ties along the way to what it takes to be kind of future ready for their graduates. I'm going to show you an example of some of the things that came out of one of the partners in our first cohort. So Du Bois County actually asked if they could be a Ready Schools candidate as a collaborative. So they have 4 school districts, and this just kind of shows you the results of a year-long planning effort. And as I mentioned, in Du Bois County, they have a serious concentration of furniture making. So what they realized, what the school districts, all 4 of them realized early on in discovery, is we don't even have a manufacturing pathway. So they created, is oftentimes, we know these companies around us exist. We don't really know what they're doing or what their needs are. We don't really have we have relationships with them on the football and basketball, in the football field, the basketball court, all of those social pieces, right? But we don't really have this meaningful, robust relationship between the school, the employer, and the community, and thinking about what that means for talent. So they created this idea of Hub 19, and this centric, right, talent, where those 3 pieces can come together: employers, schools, and the community. So their strategies ended up being, first develop that concept of having a hub, a talent hub. And then we heard often, and still do hear, right, about those soft skills, the employability skills, problem solving, team building, critical thinking, all of those things that employers are looking for. And that just wasn't in the curriculum as much, or across the board, right? Might be happening in pockets, but not as a system. And then career exploration and career awareness, as well as how to think about really relevant and engaged learning. So they heard a lot from parents and stakeholders and students, why is this relevant to me? How can I get more excited about the learning? So they decided to do more problem-based and project-based learning, which is a really natural connection between academic content, community partners, and making something really relevant and living for the students. And then also at the bottom there, you can see that they created an Automation and Robotics Academy. So that is in partnership with Vincennes University Jasper campus and their Patoka Valley Career Center. So those entities had not been working together prior to this effort, this Ready Schools effort, and being able to have a year long to plan together, it's been really great to see the growth of what they call ARA, the Automation and Robotics Academy, which has a clear alignment, right, to what their manufacturers are looking for in the Du Bois County area. So there have been a few initiatives that have grown out of Ready Schools to now be standalone initiatives for us. One of those is our student-run business network, which we have branded as Uplands Made. So the school districts involved in Ready Schools early on also, right, heard we are makers. We're a region of makers. We are tinkerers. We like to create. So we always take our Ready Schools districts to promising practice visits, as I mentioned, in ideation. And so we actually went and actually just came back again from Strum, Wisconsin, to visit Cardinal Manufacturing, where it's very much a rural school district, very small, but have seen a lot of success in actually bringing work-based learning and a business on site, because it's really hard in small and rural to find a robust, high quality experience, work-based learning experience for all students when you're talking juniors and seniors. So this is an on-site student-run business where they're running all aspects of a business, from production to machining to marketing to office management to who's taking the orders, who's overseeing project management for each of your projects. These are the students who are doing this, and they have this ownership. It's really not the advisor or the instructor that's doing all of this, but more than anything, they are creating those soft skills in students to own each part of their position within the business. They apply, they learn from juniors, learn from seniors about their position. And then that's kind of that sustainability model. So we now have a really great network of student-run businesses throughout the region, and who, when they design their student-run business, it's based on what they're hearing from the community and what's needed. So they're not all doing engineering design or CNC routing, but they might be more retail, like in Brown County. It's always based on what those needs are. And we also have a digital fabrication lab network. And so because we really want students immersed in hands-on learning, we are outfitting schools with a variety of, equipment such as laser cutters, CNC routers, 3D printers, electronics to really align with that microelectronics piece I was talking about. And then providing the professional development so that classes can integrate into academic content, projects into their academic content. It's rarely a standalone. We don't want this to be, oh, well, I'll just go to that space when I have time, or if I get all my work done. It's really integrated into maybe your social studies unit or your English lit unit, but really creating these spaces where students feel comfortable being around this equipment and being in a space where they can design and problem solve all the time. So we have a number of now digital fabrication labs in 2 cohorts, as you can see, all around the region, that we are supporting through professional development and ongoing coaching. Here's just some pictures of the students and teachers at work there. They're either coding or programming, or they're soldering, or they're actually working with the power tools themselves. We have 2 fellowship.
Yeah. I'm going to interrupt you a minute because it looks to me like Zoom is going to shut us down.
Oh, okay.
You see that on your screen?
I see that we have 8 minutes left.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Yeah, so I can stop share. You guys might have questions for me. We have we have a couple of fellowship programs to build capacity for the educators. They've been phenomenal, but we also have a modern youth apprenticeship program, which some of you saw when I was talking about upskill at the symposium. So that was really my focus in that presentation, to talk about modern youth apprenticeship and the power in that, really bridging, right? We had needed to create this bridge, concrete bridge between K-12 and the workplace setting. So
yeah, we're working on that same thing here in this county, trying to take workforce development into the school system. Our school system has gone through some changes and they're very receptive. And so we just want to make sure we're bringing quality programs into the schools. And I like what you guys have done, especially at the younger levels. I don't want to say juniors and seniors are easy to work with, but to me, kindergartners frighten the heck out of me. So I don't know how
that's our STEM fellowship, where we, that's an elementary focus, where we bring on the educators and put them through a year-long fellowship. Once a month PD, we take them to industry, on industry tours and information sessions once a month. And where, we're as educators, that's all we know is school, right? We don't know other industries. We're probably good at school. We wanted to be teachers. We are, always in that space. But so many times our fellows, our educators are saying, I had no idea these things were right in our backyard. And they just probably more than anything love being outside of their 4 walls to understand what's happening with their employers around them.
Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask in case Zoom drops us?
this is not important, but what kind of, she kept saying something in technology. How much in technology is all, I mean,
This,
Du Bois County, what, something that was in Du Bois County. What was developed there? Because of the furniture industry. Oh, the pathway for manufacturing. So, Michi, what was it called in Du Bois County, the manufacturing pipeline? What did you guys call that?
I'm sorry, I can't hear that.
so in Du Bois County, what did you what did you develop there that was a manufacturing pathway?
Oh, they developed the Automation and Robotics Academy in partnership. So that's their CTE in partnership with VUJC, the VU Jasper campus. And it is also a work and learn, work and earn program for juniors and seniors where they get to leave school and go to VUJC campus for automation and robotics. And so they'll learn on campus and then they go to their employer site. So they're always matched with an employer there in Du Bois County.
Can you go back and tell me again, you talked about professional development series that you did, ongoing series with teachers. We've scratched the surface of that.
Yeah, we do ongoing professional development in both of our fellowship programs. So we have career coaching fellowship and STEM fellowship. And in addition, we provide the professional development for digital fabrication labs, which means what does it mean to integrate problem and project-based learning in your units using digital fabrication. And so we take them through that training and support that. And then for our STEM fellows and career coaching fellows, it will be STEM activities and the whole gamut because we're with them once a month for a whole day. And then also the professional development that comes with just being able to talk with employers on site, learning about what are the skills you're looking for, what was your pathway, if it's an engineer, what type of engineer and why, all of that is included.
Yeah.
So they might have a STEM immersion just on lean manufacturing. How can you replicate something like that in the classroom? So we are always ensuring that they can take something back to the classroom and apply it the next day. And then also talk to their grade level about that or share with us at a staff meeting, hopefully really trying to build that ecosystem for STEM in the region. So now with over 100 STEM fellows, they're really a network, a community of practice. And where many of them have become leaders within their own district. They might become a STEM coach for certain grade levels or the whole school or even in an administrative role.
Very nice. Very nice. Anybody have any other questions?
Can you describe how you did the occupational needs assessment?
Mary Roller with Ivy Tech is asking how you conducted the occupational needs assessment that you did in the very beginning. Right.
So we we've contracted with a couple of different groups. So most recently was with Teconomy. And so once that analysis is completed, we just kind of refine that with Teconomy in order to make it a publishable document, essentially. So with keeping in mind, right, we're looking for those three key sectors, what the demand is, what the needs are, where are their pain points, what are they looking for, and why.
I wrote down a question. Let me see if I answered it.
Michi, how have you got the schools to work together as opposed to like in competition with one another?
Great question. I will tell you, it came from them. So we have two distinct collaboratives, the 4 school districts in Du Bois County. And then we also have Cosmos. They've branded themselves Cosmos because they have well-known astronauts in that part of the region. So Mitchell, Orleans, and Shoals have come together and they said, you know what? If we don't do this, we either die or we thrive. We make that decision. And so they decided to come together and collaborate to share resources, and that's exactly what they're doing. So when they don't have enough licensed teachers to offer the more classes that students need, right, for their pathway or their future, they're sharing those resources. And so maybe students might attend that class virtually, but they're just able to offer a lot more coursework, and they have aligned pathways, all three of them together.
I know. Leading them.
She knew she was leading you into it.
What did I miss something?
Yeah, she knew about Cosmos. She was leading you into it.
Oh, okay. All
Mhm.
right. So they're a real model for why would we work together? You know, they still compete, right? In all the athletic stuff. They're still our rivals, but not when it comes to student success and their pathways.